With the ICC World Test Championship not due to be decided until December 2025, there are plenty of exciting series to keep us on the edge of our seats until this time. This month, England will tour Pakistan, followed by New Zealand tour of India later this same month. With Pakistan touring Australia for a one-day and T20 series in November, there is a lot to look forward to. But statistically and emotionally, there is one clash that has the cricket world salivating. The Border-Gavaskar series between India and Australia, played in Australia from November through to January 2025. This will be the first time these two teams have squared off in a 5-test series since 1992. At the conclusion of the 2020-21 series, the ICC, according to its global polling results, regarded the series between Australia and India as the ultimate test match series of all time. Therefore, it's easy to see why the upcoming series is the most anticipated series of this season and why there is so much interest in who's going to win. In this video, we look at the history, the key statistics leading into the series, the key player matchups, and we also use some statistical analysis using our Game Changer score, or GCS, to predict the outcome, along with the old-fashioned predictions to guess who's going to win each test and the series. Pad up. This is going to be intriguing. The history of the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. The first ever cricket encounter between Australia and India was Australia's 1935-36 tour of India to play a series of 4 unofficial tests. However, it was India's 1947-48 tour of Australia, its first after independence, that marked the first official test match and the series between these two teams. The Border-Gavaskar Trophy is one of the most premier bilateral trophies in Test cricket. Both teams have a reputation of being difficult to beat at home. This is born out of India winning 8 out of 9 series held in India, and Australia winning 5 out of 8 series held in Australia at the conclusion of the 2022-23 series. Both teams have achieved a similar number of tests and series wins, and the trophy has changed hands frequently. So who will be in the two teams? Barring injury, we are assuming that the Indian first 11 will look very similar to the team currently touring Bangladesh. From 1 through to 11, we see the team being Rohit Sharma, Yashasvi Jaiswal, Shubman Gill, Virat Kohli, Rishabh Pant, KL Rahul, Ravindra Jadeja, Ravichandran Ashwin, Jasprit Bumrah, Akash Deep and Mohammad Siraj. And likewise for Australia, we see the same team playing the series that played New Zealand earlier this year. From 1 through to 11, Steve Smith, Usman Khawaja, Marnus Labuschagne, Cameron Green, Travis Head, Mitchell Marsh, Alex Carey, Mitchell Starc, Pat Cummins, Nathan Lyon and Josh Hazlewood. To give some background and a little bit of statistical analysis, it's worth noting the following. India have won the last 5 series, including the last 2 series beating Australia at home. Currently, Australia are ranked 2nd on the World Test Championship table with 90 points, and India are ranked 1st with a PCT of 68.52. Australia defeated India soundly in the World Championship final in England in 2023. Currently, Jaiswal, Gill and Sharma are having a great year with the bat, with averages of 63.5, 43.8 and 38.3 respectively. On the other side, Mitchell Marsh at 45.45, Usman Khawaja 34.38 and Steve Smith 33.18 have been leading contributors for Australia. The Australian batting order is also a topic for much discussion. For instance, where will Steve Smith, Cameron Green and Mitch Marsh bat in the order for this series? Will Travis Head open in the batting? Outside of the top 5 batters, it's an interesting story. For the season so far, Pat Cummins' average is 26.16, Alex Carey 23.76 and Mitch Marsh has had a very strong year, batting at 6 with an average of around 50. This points to a very strong late and lower order for Australia. Meanwhile, India's batting looks a little more settled, with Virat Kohli batting in the 4 or 5 position. KL Rahul has been strong this year, batting around 6 and averaging just over 44. Aside from this, only Ravindra Jadeja has averaged a respectable 36.4 in the late and lower order. The top 3 wicket takers for Australia, Hazlewood, Cummins and Lyon, have taken 99 wickets between them this season, whereas India's trio of Bumrah, Ashwin and Yadav have been the most destructive with 77 wickets. Ultimately, we believe the contest will come down to how well India handles the revered Australian pace attack and how well Australia's middle and late order handle India's spin. Given the fast and hard nature of pitches in Australia, you would expect the pace attacker Starc, Hazlewood and Cummins would have the edge. But it's not that simple, with weather often being a factor and India's rapidly improving pace stock. Also, over recent years, we've been developing our Game Changer score, or GCS, here at Athlete IQ. The GCS is a composite metric that considers multiple factors such as batting, bowling and fielding. It takes into account a player's consistency, their big match temperament, and their ability to perform under pressure. The GCS is not just about statistics, but also about the intangible qualities that separate game changers from ordinary players. Looking at our analysis of key players for both sides, our GCS data tells us that for Australia, Mitch Marsh, Marnus Labuschagne and Travis Head will be the key influences in the upcoming series. And for India, the GCS predicts that Jadeja, Kohli and Ashwin will be the players to have the biggest impact for India. More interestingly, the combined or total GCS for the Indian team is 12.89 compared to Australia's 12.69, which would typically predict India winning the series. The top 5 batsmen for India total 6.15 in the GCS score compared to Australia's 6.69, giving Australia the edge in the batting department. For the bowlers, it's the reverse. Our GCS predicts India's 5 bowlers will have a game changer score of 5.48 compared to Australia's 5.12. This really is a fascinating result, as it flips the script on what we're expecting, where India will dominate the batting and Australia the bowling. Our GCS calculation is telling us that on numbers alone, India should win the series, and the Indian bowlers will outperform the Australian bowlers. We eagerly await the final result. So what do we see as the key matchups for the series? Firstly, there's Stark versus Gill. In one-day internationals, Stark has had a very impressive record against Gill, having dismissed him 3 times in recent matches. Stark's accuracy and aggression in one-day internationals is well noted, but can he repeat this in the Test match arena? Cummins versus Kohli. In comparison to other Australian bowlers, Kohli has struggled the most against Pat Cummins, with a significant lower strike rate of 32.7. Against Cummins, Kohli has been dismissed 4 times in the last 5 matches. Bumrah vs Smith. Jasprit Bumrah has dismissed Steve Smith a total of 4 times in Test cricket. This rivalry and the importance of a strong start against India might be the reason that Smith bats at 4 or 5 in this series. And Head vs Jadeja. From 2018, Head has had a modest record in Tests against India. In recent years, however, Travis has been playing a more aggressive role at number 5. This role will be vital against India's spin. And in 2023, Jadeja dismissed Head twice for an average of 38. A little below his Test average of 42. Head likes to go after spin and will target Jadeja to put him off his length. This is where the risks will lie, and this will be a crucial matchup at a time that could be crucial for both teams, the middle overs. What about the match winners to watch? Outside of our game changer score, we see there being 4 players with X-factor abilities who we believe will play a key role in the outcome of the matches and the series. Jaswal, who can get him out? Head, will he take the match away from India? Virat Kohli, will this be his swan song? And Steve Smith, where will he bat in the order? And can India dismiss him cheaply? So let's look at the 2024 and 25 series and why it has been billed the series of the 21st century. Former Australian fast bowler Geoff Lawson reckons the forthcoming Border-Gavaskar Trophy series, Down Under, could turn out to be the best Test series of the 21st century. For the first time in the 77-year history of India versus Australia, the Indians will travel to Australia buoyed by the fact they've won the last 2 Test series here. Furthermore, the Border-Gavaskar series will be the first contested over 5 Tests between these 2 nations in more than 30 years, with recent series being played out typically over 4 Tests. So where will the 5 Tests be played? The first Test will be played in Perth from the 22nd to the 26th of November. The second Test in Adelaide from December 6 to 10 will be under lights, will be a day-night Test match. The third Test at Brisbane, or the Gabatoir, will be from December 14 to 15, just before Christmas, and the Boxing Day Test, the 4th Test in Melbourne, from December 26 to the 30th. The series will conclude with the 5th and final Test in Sydney at the SCG, to be played from January the 3rd. What are our predictions for each Test match? Match 1 in Perth. Like most teams touring Australia, India have a horrible record in Perth. Prior to moving to the ground in Perth, the Optus Stadium, India have played in Perth 4 times and won just once and lost the other 3. Their lone victory in 2008 is their only saving grace. On top of this, Australia has an impressive history against any opposition in Perth. Australia have played 41 tests, winning 24, losing 10 and drawing 7. This gives them a strong win-loss ratio of 2.4 at the venue, making it one of their most successful home grounds. Whilst India will take part in an India A versus Australia A series to warm up in North Queensland and Melbourne, they only play an intra-squad match in Perth just prior to the first test to fine-tune their selection. Even with an improved pace attack from India, barring injury, we cannot see India being able to adjust quickly enough to be able to handle the Australian pace attack. Prediction, Australia 1-0. Match 2, Adelaide. The day-night Test match in Adelaide is always a spectacle. Australia has a strong Test record against India at the Adelaide Oval. In total, they've played 13 Tests against India at this venue. venue, winning 8, losing 2 and drawing 3. Also important is Australia's impressive record in day-night test matches, having played 12 matches and won 11 of them as of 2024. Australia's remarkable run in these pink ball tests is largely attributed to their formidable pace attack, particularly Stark, who excels in such conditions. Also to consider is that India have not played a test under lights since March 2022, with Australia playing their last more recently in January 2024, which they lost against the West Indies. We expect Australia to continue their dominance in pink ball tests and jump to a 2-0 lead in the series. Match 3, Brisbane, where the heat will turn up on both teams. Needing a draw at least to stay in the series, we see India come into this match prepared and ready to repeat their legendary victory at the Gavaskar from 2021. We could also potentially see the pace trio of Australia start to show signs of strain and fatigue, and the normally impenetrable ground in Brisbane has seen Australia suffer 2 shock defeats in recent times. India knows how to win in Brisbane, so expect them to turn up the heat and fight for a draw in this one. Australia 2-0. Match 4, the Boxing Day Test, is a national icon in Australia. Played at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, MCG, or simply the G, since 1950, with recent crowds at the G reaching 90,000. This test match is expected to top the records. In recent tests between Australia and India at the MCG, India won in both 2018 and 2020. Expect this one to be spicy. The MCG is noted for favouring pace up to day 3, and then as the wicket starts to crack, the surface suits the spinners. India have a formidable spin attack and will look to exploit this opportunity. We believe the toss will be vital for this test. If India win, they'll most definitely bat first, whereas we may see Pat Cummins send India in if he wins the toss to try and exploit the conditions with his pace attack. This one will go down to the wire, with the toss being a crucial element. With India needing to win and the Australian quicks facing fatigue after 4 test matches, India will take this one. Australia 2-1. Match 5, Sydney. It will all come down to this. If India win in Sydney and draw the series, they will retain the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. At this stage, we are predicting that India will need to win the test to retain the trophy. In the last 20 tests at the SCG, there have been 14 tests with a result in 6 draws. However, in the last 5 tests since 2020, there have been 3 draws, and the weather has affected the result. Since 2020, the 3rd and 4th day of the Sydney Test has been interrupted by rain. The long-range weather forecast for January predicts the same in 2025. Therefore, we see the weather being a factor again in this series. Given this long-range forecast, we expect this test to end in a draw. Despite the result, this has the potential to be an emotional test match for both sides. We predict it will be the last time we see Virat Kohli play test match cricket in Australia, and it could also see the announcement of retirement from test match cricket from Steve Smith. It'll be sad to see the end of the careers of arguably the 2 most influential batsmen in all forms of our wonderful game for the last 20 years. Overall series result, Australia 2-1. So that's how we see it. A tightly fought series across 5 gripping test matches, with Australia prevailing 2-1 and seeing the Border-Gavaskar Trophy back in Australia after many years in India. There's no doubt we'll witness some epic moments during the test series. Famous rivalries will continue between the likes of Stark and Gill, Cummins, Lyon and Kohli, and Jadeja and Smith. This result also adds some intrigue to the World Test Championship final. Pending no surprises around the world in other test series, Australia and India would still be in the top 2 places for the Test Championship, keeping a repeat of the 2023 World Test Championship final on the cards. So what do you think? Will this be the series of the century as predicted by Jeff Lawson? And will Australia wrestle back the Border-Gavaskar Trophy from England? Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to Athlete IQ for more videos on sport, technology and data.